7 days into Vince McMahon's 30-day ultimatum for Bischoff to turn around Raw, Eric, in addition to the show coming 24 hours after the Royal Rumble for traditionally one of the highest-rated shows of the year, hyped a massive bombshell announcement that will be heard around the world, with the idea of him going all out for the next 3 weeks to save his job, opening the post-Rumble Raw with Triple H coming out for the follow-up promo on last night's Steiner title match, which ended up being mostly talked about for the crowd reaction during it than anything that took place in the ring, with the Boston crowd in contrast to the month of build-up which saw the Steiner-Hunter segments routinely doing strong numbers to big crowd reactions, turning on the match midway through all the way to major heat for the DQ finish, not helped by a sluggish performance from Hunter and Steiner, with both coming off major injuries in the recent past, putting questions on the continuation of the feud despite the finish clearly indicating on them setting up for a rematch, with the opening segment with traditional strong curiosity for who was the Rumble winner, seeing Steiner confronting Hunter and Flair to set up Steiner vs Batista for the TV main event, kicking off with a 3.5 rating and over 4.3 million viewers in the most watched first quarter in almost 2 months. After the stronger-than-usual opening segment, Raw picked up slightly over the next quarter, with Van Dam vs Jeff Hardy going 4 minutes, with Van Dam going over, followed by a tease of a Hardy turn, and with speculation even prior to the show that the Vince ultimatum is going to lead to Eric recruiting Bill Goldberg to turn around the Raw brand. Goldberg, in his first public comments during the week regarding his first meeting with McMahon on January 8, cooled off talks that a deal is already reached, saying that while step 1 is complete and it was good to finally talk to Vince after so long of planning the meeting, negotiations on the contract terms are still going on and the ball is now in WWE's court on if a deal can be reached, with pressure from both Rock and McMahon to seal it in time for WrestleMania 19. With Goldberg, while his agent is still in direct contact with the company, with the biggest obstacle in negotiations reportedly being the amount of dates per month, in Japan over the weekend, with him at the same day of the Royal Rumble on Sunday headlining a Tokyo Dome show for All Japan that was originally targeted to be against Hulk Hogan on the other side, ending up in a Goldberg and Muto against WCW's Kronik in front of 20,000 people in the stadium, with Goldberg going over Clark for the finish in what is set to be on the current plan his final match before headlining WrestleMania against Rock on March 30th, with Sunday also seeing another major name targeting his comeback for WrestleMania returning to the ring in a different way after over 6 months, with Nash, while in Boston to attend the Rumble pay-per-view, getting to the ring prior to the show on Sunday afternoon for the first time in his recovery for the torn quad last July, saying that physically he's 90% ready to wrestle today, with him at his lightest weight in 15 years at less than 300 pounds, with him in his previous run working at 327 on the day of his injury, targeting his return match for WrestleMania 19, with his latest doctor evaluation putting his full recovery at around 8 to 10 weeks, just in time for the event, bringing back talks on the planned Nash vs Hunter program as his return opponent in what was originally scheduled as one of the top matches for SummerSlam 2002. With Raw seeing a major pickup of over 500,000 viewers to an hour high in the third quarter for the Dudleys-Morley tag titles angle back to Storm and Regal, with the hyped Bischoff announcement coming up next. After being rarely mentioned in the past 8 months, at a time it looked like the end of his career, with the chaos happening on June 10 to 17 last year, Steve Austin, after being named the top superstar in Raw history on the 10th anniversary special last Tuesday, was officially reintroduced back to WWE television as the big announcement from Eric to turn around Raw, advertising 2 major Austin items, first with his first response to the controversy surrounding his walkout incident, with him set to give his side of the story in a Raw magazine cover story in the next month, while setting up his TV return for the No Way Out pay-per-view, with Eric building up the return as Austin being welcomed back after not being invited to the Raw special due to his dispute with McMahon. seeing the segment with the Bischoff-Austin announcement drawing the most watched full quarter of the night with over 5.1 million viewers, with the Eric promo likely peaking much higher with it only going several minutes past 10 p.m., with the reality of the situation outside the TV storyline being that following their first face-to-face meeting in Houston on September 30th, the return was only a matter of time, with Vince and Austin sorting out the issues, with Austin reportedly included in all WrestleMania plans as early as October 2002, with the question now on who his return opponent is going to be if a deal can be reached for Bill Goldberg to headline the pay-per-view against Rock and Hogan and McMahon, scheduled to soon kick off their feud planned for over 5 years. With Raw on the night also seeing an unusual creative situation with Brian Gowertz following his altercation with Paul Heyman last week, which ended up with both being suspended. For the first time in over 3 years not involved in the writing of Raw, with him only reviewing the show after it was done, with him and Heyman set to return to their usual roles as head writers of both brands from the midweek production meeting to set up the TV plans for the following Monday and Tuesday. And with the Royal Rumble and the Goldberg Tokyo Dome show in Japan both taking place yesterday but in different time zones, a more direct head-to-head programming for the Rumble saw a 1-hour episode of VH1's Driven Show on Rock going against 1 hour of the pay-per-view from 9 to 10 p.m., with the documentary series, which included interviews from Vince McMahon, Pat Patterson, Angled Jericho and his closest family among others, covering his career up to 2003 from football to wrestling to Hollywood, with Rock confirming his WWE return for the next month. Raw featured a major injury angle sold as a shoot midway through the second hour, with Chris Jericho after being one of the standout performers in the Rumble match by swerving Michaels for the first elimination to take their feud to the next level, followed by lasting the longest time in the match, accidentally injuring Stacy Keibler with a chair shot to the head in a match against Test going 5 minutes, followed by Teddy Long after years working as a referee in the company, returning as a manager for the first time since his WCW days in the early 90s, and despite the drop in the usual 10:15 to 45 p.m. downtime period that was often offset by the Steiner Hunter segments in recent weeks, the overall second hour, driven by the Eric Bischoff announcement and the main event coming up, totaled over 4.9 million viewers, the most watched 10 to 11 p.m. hour of Raw since August 26. With Steiner vs. Batista and Steiner's first TV match back in the company closing the show in a match going less than 2 minutes, mostly designed to set up the heat angle following it, with Steiner's drawing power if thought to be taking a hit by the reaction to the Rumble pay-per-view match last night, showed no sign of slowing down, with the 5-minute overrun peaking the show at a 4.4 rating with over 5.5 million viewers in the most watched main event segment on Raw in 5 months, with a massive gain of over 1.1 million viewers, and after months of talks and setting up the group since the Hunter-Flair alliance started in September with constant delays due to injuries. The post-match beatdown setting up the Steiner vs. Hunter rematch saw all 4 members of the planned Horseman-like faction in the ring for the first time, with Hunter, Flair Orton and Batista laying out Steiner to establish the group going forward, closing the post-Rumble Raw and the broadcast usually getting a strong boost from the previous week with the second consecutive 3.9 rating with 4.8 million viewers. Almost identical numbers due to the increase already taking place for Vince McMahon's return last Monday, with another major boost targeted in the coming weeks with the build-up to Austin's comeback at No Way Out and major returns scheduled on the SmackDown side.